Most people believe that fires like this don't happen anymore. Those modern buildings, modern materials, and modern safety systems have made disasters like this impossible. But on June 14, 2017, that belief was proven wrong. In a modern city, inside a recently renovated high-rise, a fire that should have been contained climbed the outside of a building and took 72 lives. This isn't just a story about a fire. It's a story about how buildings fail, how safety assumptions break down, and what happens when systems meant to protect people do the opposite. Stay with me, because what happened at Grenfell Tower changed fire safety around the world, and the lessons still matter today. I'm retired Fire Chief Stephen Gentile. This is The Burning Oath.
June 14, 2017, London. Just after midnight, residents of a high-rise apartment building were asleep in their homes. Grenfell Tower stood quietly over West London, a modern residential building recently refurbished, home to hundreds of families. Shortly before 1 a.m., a fire broke out inside a single apartment. At first, it appeared routine, contained, manageable, but within minutes, flames escaped the window and began racing upward along the exterior of the building. What followed was not a typical high-rise fire. It was a disaster unfolding in real time. In a modern city, inside a modern building, in a world that believed fires like this no longer happened. By sunrise, 72 people would be dead. This is the story of the Grenfell Tower fire. In the years before the fire, Grenfell Tower had undergone a major refurbishment. The building's exterior was updated with new cladding panels and insulation designed to improve appearance and energy efficiency. But beneath the surface, those materials would prove catastrophic. The cladding system created a continuous vertical pathway along the outside of the building. When flames escaped the apartment window, they ignited the facade. Fire raced upward, leaping floor to floor, bypassing the fire-resistant compartments inside. What should have remained a single apartment fire became an exterior-driven inferno. The building itself had become fuel. And once the facade ignited, the fire was no longer contained by walls, floors, or doors. It was moving freely, outside the structure, faster than firefighters could control. For decades, residents of high-rise buildings had been given clear guidance. If a fire breaks out, stay inside your apartment. Modern towers were designed with fire-resistant compartments, concrete walls, fire doors, individual units meant to contain fire long enough for firefighters to respond. That guidance had saved lives many times before. As Grenfell burned, emergency operators repeated that advice. Residents were told to remain where they were, to wait for help. But this fire was no longer behaving like a compartment fire. Flames were spreading rapidly along the outside of the building. Smoke began entering apartments far from the original fire. And conditions inside the tower were changing faster than anyone anticipated. What had once been sound advice was now failing in real time. Firefighters arrived within minutes. Crews advanced hose lines into the building, working floor by floor, searching apartments, and assisting residents where they could. But the scale of the fire was unlike anything most had faced. Flames raced up the exterior of the tower, far beyond the reach of ground ladders. Burning debris fell from above, creating hazards for firefighters and civilians alike. Inside, Smoke spread rapidly through stairwells and corridors. Visibility dropped. Communications became difficult. Firefighters were confronting a fire that was not behaving like a high-rise fire at all. They were fighting a vertical wildfire on the side of a residential tower. And despite every effort, the fire continued to grow. As the night wore on, the fire continued to spread beyond control. Flames climbed the exterior faster than crews could reach them. Smoke filled stairwells and corridors. Power failed. Visibility vanished. Firefighters worked relentlessly, guiding residents down smoke-filled stairs, forcing doors, and calling out into darkened apartments. But conditions inside the tower were changing minute by minute. Heat intensified, smoke thickened, and safe paths out disappeared. Despite every effort, the scale of the fire had surpassed the limits of rescue. By the early morning hours, it was clear that not everyone could be reached in time. As daylight broke over West London, the fire finally began to subside. Grenfell Tower stood blackened and silent. What had been a home to hundreds was now a burned shell overlooking the city. Inside, the search began. Firefighters and investigators moved carefully through the tower, floor by floor, apartment by apartment. The loss was staggering. 72 people had died. Families were displaced. An entire community was forever changed. This was not a distant tragedy, remotely located or long forgotten. It happened here, in a modern city, in a building people believed was safe. The fire was out, but its impact was only beginning to be understood. In the days that followed, questions began to surface. How did a fire that started in a single apartment engulf an entire high-rise in minutes? Why did the flames spread so rapidly along the exterior? Why did smoke move so freely through areas meant to protect residents? Attention turned to the building itself, its refurbishment, its materials, and the assumptions made about modern fire safety. Investigators examined the cladding system, the insulation behind it, and the way fire traveled unseen between floors. They looked at regulations, testing standards, and decisions made long before the night of the fire. Grenfell was no longer just a tragedy. It was a warning, and the world was watching. In the months and years that followed, Grenfell forced a reckoning. Building codes were re-examined, cladding materials were scrutinized, and long-held assumptions about high-rise fire safety were challenged. Governments moved to ban combustible exterior systems. Testing standards were revised, and inspections became more rigorous. Fire services adapted as well. High-rise tactics were rethought. Exterior fire spread became a central concern, and guidance around evacuation, communication, and command evolved. Grenfell changed how buildings are designed, how fires are fought, and how risk is understood. Because when safety systems fail, the consequences are not theoretical. They are human. Behind every investigation, behind every reform, were lives that mattered. 72 people lost their lives at Grenfell Tower. They were parents, children, neighbors, friends. They trusted the walls around them. They trusted the systems meant to keep them safe. And that trust was broken. Grenfell is remembered not only for how it burned, but for what it revealed about buildings, about safety, and about the cost of getting it wrong. The fire is out, but the responsibility to remember remains. For those who were lost, and for those who must be protected next. Thank you for watching. This is the Burning Oath. Stay aware, stay prepared, and never forget.